So X, which is the latest from Ty West, who directed the retrotastic House of the Devil, which I think, if I remember rightly, they issued on a collector's edition VHS tape. I think that's right. I know they did that with The Guest, but I have a suspicion that they did it also with House of the Devil. This is another kind of throwbacky work, albeit pastiche throwback, set in the Boogie Nights dog end of the 1970s. There's a very funny gag. I mean, it starts with what looks like a 4:3 frame. So, the screen is like that, but it's got a square frame in the middle. You think, okay, fine, they're doing it in old school 4:3. And then the camera moves forward. You realise it's not a 4:3, it's a door. And the camera goes through the door and the screen opens up, which is actually a very good gag. And
did you laugh out loud? Or did you just...
I chuckled internally.
It was a chortle.
It was a knowing smile, but it was in the dark, so nobody saw it. So camera moves out onto a Texas farm where carnage is everywhere. And... terrible things have happened. Then cuts to 24 hours earlier. A group of young filmmakers are heading to said farm where they intend to shoot an adult film entitled Farmer's Daughter. There's Owen Campbell's RJ, who is the director and cameraman, who is determined that just because it's a dirty movie they're making doesn't mean it can't be art. And I suppose that when you look at that, that period of 70s adult films, as they call them in America, adult films, like Devil and Miss Jones or whatever, it is arguable that people were combining art and erotica. Although in the screening that I got, every time that I was in, every time he said just because it's smut doesn't mean it can't be art, everybody just guffawed and laughed like that was the most ridiculous thing they'd ever heard. Brittany Snow is Bobby Lynn, who is the blonde star of the movie which they're going to make, who actually knows more about camera angles than the director. Scott Mosquito is Jackson Hole, who's the movie's male star and boyfriend of Bobby Lynn. Both of them have a very open attitude to sex on screen. That's acting rather than actual sex, and they can't understand why people get hung up about it. And then Jenna Ortega is Lorraine, who is the sound woman and girlfriend of the director, who thinks all of this is just smut and doesn't understand why she has to be doing it, but who, in what appears to be a kind of pastiche of the classic porn narrative, finds herself oddly seduced by what she sees. Here's a clip.
I seen you sneaking a few long peeks at Jackson over here.
No, I wasn't looking.
You don't mind none.
She's right. I don't mind. No offense.
Everybody likes sex. It's a gas.
But we're just not afraid to admit it. Queer, straight, black, white.
It's all disco.
You know why? Because one day, we're gonna be too old to...
And life's too short, if you ask me.
Roger that.
The fact of the truth of the matter is,
We turn folks on. And that scares.
And they can't look away neither.
That's right. We're like a car wreck.
It's funny because I mentioned Boogie Nights. I was saying that, the dog end of the 70s, sort of Boogie Nights dog end of the 70s. Of course, there is that famous bit in Boogie Nights in which Mark Wahlberg says, we've saved a lot of marriages. Then there's Wayne, the producer, and his partner, played by Mia Goth, Maxine, in one of two roles, although I promise you it is entirely possible to watch the film without realising that Mia Goth is playing two roles. She's always been a very out there performer, somebody who, I think the first thing I saw him was The Survivalist, which was,
what's an out there performer?
Somebody who doesn't appear to be afraid of, of roles which are often quite outre and quite strange and, she just somebody who appears quite fearless on screen.
Jared Leto?
No.
That's just makeup.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, because she can actually act. Anyway, so there's plenty to play with. There's a lot of stuff going on, and Ty West, is very capable of doing some great sequences, because the whole thing is they get to the farm. The farm is run by two old-timers who've got a TV on, which is all the time blathering this evangelical, hellfire and brimstone and all this evil and foul and, sexual stuff going on and blah, blah, blah. And this is the background noise going on about sin and redemption. And the old couple don't seem very pleased when these sort of youngsters, these hippie youngsters turn up. They don't know that they've turned up to make an adult film. But again, the whole point about the film is it being the genre that it's in. No one is to be trusted. Nothing is what it appears. And as with House of the Devil, it's kind of kind of fun in a squishy, sort of pastiche, tongue-in-cheek,
I'm trying to work out. So what goes...
pitchfork and eyeball.
Oh, right. Okay. So they're all getting along famously.
They're in the barn, getting along famously on film.
Right.
You know, that the director says just because it's smart doesn't mean it can't be art.
Action.
Yes, exactly. Meanwhile, in the farmhouse, there are the two people who look like they've walked out of American Gothic who appear to not have anything in common with the hippie riffraff.
Okay.
But it being a genre film, you're not entirely sure what anybody. And the thing is, you know that all of this ends badly, and you don't know how or why. There are nods to Texas Chainsaw and Last House on the Left and all those kind of rural gothics. Although there's a lot of kind of I thought nicely subversive skewering of the modern Christian right, because although it's a sort of retro thing and it's set in 1979 and the whole thing has got a very retro feel to it, the thing about the blathering evangelicals going on about morality and is very clearly, or to my mind it was very clearly, pointedly commenting on a certain section of mad America at the moment. There are a couple of very good set pieces. There's one really swampy scene involving an alligator that is a kind of textbook of tension. It's really, really well done. And you kind of go, okay, that is a really well-directed, tense scene. It's a lot... You remember you saw Studio 666 recently?
Yes.
In Studio 666, there was a lot of goo.
It's the Dave Grohl film.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Dave Grohl was on the
The
show.
Foo Fighters film, yeah. There's a lot of goo and a lot of gore, but none of it felt... You didn't recoil from any of it. It wasn't
just tense or anything.
No, exactly. It wasn't tense or anything. In the case of this, in case of X, there is tension. There is also properly fleshy squishiness that makes you go, ooh, and yeah, which is kind of what you want from a horror film. Mia Goth seems to be really enjoying herself and relishing the chance to play the two good roles. I thought it was entertainingly repugnant. I mean that in a good way. It's not... I don't think it's up... I mean, House of the Devil, I think, still is the stand-up, but it was a lot of fun. And there's a version, there's a song connected with it. There's a 1918 sort of end of the pier cabaret song called Wee Wee Marie, which was kind of like Wee Wee Marie, I do this for you, you do that for me, blah blah blah. And there's a really haunting new version of it that makes it sound like Song to the Siren. And so it's got these kind of odd little widgety, beautiful things going on in the background. I kind of rather enjoyed it. It's no masterpiece, but it is good fun, and it's called X, and it is Ty West and then some.